Namaste students, Pushro Vidya. I JVN Dr.Y.Chandrakala, Assistant Professor Jyoti Vidyapeeth, Women's University, Jaipur. In today's session, we are going to discuss about conservation of natural resources. As the human population is growing continuously, the consumption of the natural resources is also increasing. With the increase in the industrialization and urbanization of the modern human society, the use of these resources is increasing day by day. Okay? So, in this, these resources are not properly managed and used. There will be a serious scarcity of these resources if improper handling takes place. We need to conserve the natural resources. Conservation is the proper management of the natural resources to prevent its exploitation, destruction, or degradation. So why should we conserve the natural resources? As we know, the nature provides all the basic needs which are necessary to us, but we are over exploiting or overusing these resources. If we are going to over exploit the nature, there will be no more resources available in future. So there is an urgent need to conserve the nature. Here are some needs to maintain ecological balance for the support to the life, to preserve the different types of biodiversity, to preserve the natural resources for the future generations. Why we have to put in attention here? So India is as a country is blessed with rich natural resources, but our research on the usage of the natural resources in our country, we found that the resources are depleting every day. So forest and urban lands are being depleted due to the urbanization and over pollution and over consumption. Wildlife resources are being lost due to the illegal poaching, hunting, and industrialization. So the water resources are being contaminated and drying up by industrialization. So the government of India has taken measures to conserve the resource. Regulation and reforms for proper housing and infrastructure developed to avoid the land problem. Mass media, public service messages to educate people on the importance of the conservation of the resources. So increasing the wildlife and forest reserves of the country. So schemes to do a proper inventory of the resources and the monitor change in the environment. Various projects and schemes that promote the conservation of resources. So we are, as a citizen, we are responsible to conserve our soil, water, biodiversity, forest. Okay. So soil conservation should be aimed to prevent at least the minimizing the soil loss in order to maintain the proper land utilization. Crop rotation, mulching, stripping, dry farming method. So some like mulching, drying. Okay. So the conservation of water can be a step to conserve water to secure the future. The most essential along with the nature or the natural resources on the earth is water. The drop of water at the worth more than a stack of gold for a thirsty man. So in order to save the water, avoid leakage of the water from the tap. Tap should be closed when it is not in use, or rainwater harvesting technique has to be used for conservation of the water. Water supply should be limited for those areas where unlimited water supply is there. So technical methods to conserve it is rainwater harvesting, history of water bodies or nearby ponds should be taken care of from contamination. So overflowing of water should be avoided. Okay. So conservation of biodiversity by providing the basis for the livelihood, culture, and economic of the several hundred millions of people, including the farmers, fishers, forests, and dwellers, and artisans also. It provides raw material for diverse medicinal and healthcare systems. Fish as a fish, agricultural fish, and critical discoveries in the research area for as a food and fodder. So utility of the water bodies and aquatic animals has to be conserved. The measures to conserve the biodiversity are legislation, the formal policies and programs are conserved are there for the conservation and sustainable utility of the biodiversity and data should be maintained. In situ conservation, where the conservation of the animal within the natural habitat, and ex situ conservation is the conservation of the plants and animals or protect them in a natural habitat. Okay. So, recording the indigenous knowledge of the lives and the local community involved in that, intervening with that of the environment or intermediate or immediate resource for meeting their needs, etc. Okay. So, as animals being killed by the people to make their leathers, packs, and so we have to stop that. And conservation of the forest keeping in view the importance of the forest for our life, and the people overwhelming the world has to stop the unnecessary deforestation. A government has also made laws and decided to declare certain forests as a protected area. These protected areas are called reserve or wildlife sanctuaries. So here no one is allowed to hunt animals, and there are all about 150 wildlife sanctuaries in India. People come from all over the world to see these sanctuaries. They consist of most beautiful and rare animals. So the techniques used here to conserve the forest is to obtain the conservation of the forest is a national problem. So it must be tackled with perfect coordination between forest department and other department and public. People participation in the conservation of the forest is a vital important role. And the cutting of the trees or in the forest must be stopped at all costs. Afforestation has to put an end. And programs like One More also should be launched on grand scale. Celebration of all functions and festivals should be including the plantation of trees. Cutting of the timbers and should be restricted. Okay. So our Indian Constitution has certain laws like various laws and acts has been passed in India in various protection of conservation of natural resources like Environmental Protection Act 1986, Forest Conservation Act 1980, and Chipko movement was in 1988. Thank you. This session is powered by 2.0 Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University, Jaipur. If you have any queries, please write down in the comment box. I will resolve it in the problem solving session.